Welcome, and thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy this video, we invite those of you who haven't yet done so, to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the notification icon, to be notified when the next one is uploaded. We'd also like to urge those of you who haven't yet done so, to sign our online petition for an inquiry into the BBC and Channel 4's coverage of Lewis Hamilton and Abu Dhabi, which we have amended to include Gary Lineker's sacking by the BBC. A link has been provided in the description. If you are on X, then please repost our tweet. Thank you. Trust you all enjoyed the summer break, and as the season restarted this weekend, we say let the games begin. The phrase let the games begin signals the start of a competition, challenge, or exciting event, expressing anticipation and readiness for what is to come. And as the F1 season restarts after the summer break, with only 9 points separating the two McLaren drivers at the top of the table, one would ordinarily be looking forward to a hotly contested title run-in. The first closely contested F1 title run-in, since Lewis Hamilton made his debut in 2007, that he would not be featuring in. He was memorably involved in his debut season, when as championship leader, he was cruelly denied in the final race as his car developed engine problems mid-race. In the following year, he was again involved in another closely contested title run-in, that Felipe Massa is still looking to go to court over today. 2014 and 2015 were closely contested between him and Nico, before Mercedes stepped in to help the German over the line in 2016. And we all know what happened in 2021. The intervening periods with Vettel and Button in our view did produce some run-ins, but not anywhere as memorable as those involving Hamilton. He was the one who faced both internal and external challenges with such intensity that created the edge of the seat drama that defined his greatness. But let us know how you feel in the comments section. It is the dark post-2021 period that has failed to produce any run-ins, because the powers that be wanted to produce a rival to Hamilton. To do this, they changed the rules mid-race to provide for one last lap shootout so that the season that was going down in history as the fiercest contested ever would not end behind the safety car. As if that would have somehow taken away from the integrity of the sport, or devalued the season in some way. But instead, they created the biggest sporting scandal ever, and also signaled their intention to continue rigging races going forward. Well done. To double down on their self-sabotage, they gave their chosen one a car that was so far ahead of his teammates and the others that he was running away unchallenged. But the public were not so thrilled with a boosted champion closing down on Hamilton's legacy faster than Lance Armstrong, so the powers that be had to curb that momentum for now. When we saw the headline about Tony Blair being involved in the Gaza policy meeting with President Trump and his son-in-law, we knew immediately that the fix was in. The sickest snake oil salesman in the history of mankind, now masquerading as a statesman, was at it again. Wonder how long it will be before he starts calling for the Nobel Peace Prize for you-know-who, for ending the war. Naked emperors abound everywhere you look. The naked emperors who boosted the challenger to Lewis Hamilton are still convinced that their ability to manipulate races and public opinion is unimpeachable, despite people like us and James documenting their nakedness for the world to see when they have long departed the stage. So why would anyone think that those who had no respect for sporting integrity would not meddle in the title race between Oscar and Lando? McLaren have been fortunate to develop a championship-winning car since they saw fit to bend the knee in 2021, and they have demonstrated their loyalty on many occasions since then. So, what are the chances that they will not meddle with the title run-in between their drivers, to keep Oscar from running away with it, so that Liberty Media can have the title run-in that they crave so much, except when their chosen one is being boosted? Had it not been for McLaren, Oscar would be 37 points ahead of Lando before this Dutch GP, and running away with the title. At the British GP, he was unfairly penalised for an infraction committed by the chosen one, because the system was predisposed to protecting him. McLaren had the option to counter the unfair penalty which had also benefited Lando, but rejected Oscar's request for them to do so. This conveniently helped Lando to close the gap to his team leader. Again, in Hungary, He did all the hard work only for McLaren team strategy to put a bumbling Lando ahead of him. Option D, which Lando was forced to go on to after bungling the start, turned out to be better than Option A, which Oscar was made to stay on after his request to switch to Option D, which was made before Lando's was denied. Consequently, it is understandable that many from the land down under are firmly convinced that Oscar is being dudded by McLaren. The only thing keeping Lando anywhere near Oscar is McLaren team strategy. Without McLaren holding Oscar back, Lando would have conceded the title by now. He just doesn't have any fighting spirit despite McLaren and Liberty Media trying to represent him as one. He is to Formula One what Arsenal are to the Premiership. Perennial bottlers. He bottled it last season when they propped him up to be the title challenger to the chosen one, in a desperate effort to reverse the plummeting viewing figures. But alas, he failed to show up and promptly set the worst ever record for losing while driving the winning car. It was Oscar breaking down the chosen one that gave him the chance to follow through in second, but even then, he memorably bottled it publicly and relied on a psychologist and poor team strategy to salvage his season. Ahead of today's GP, he has shown the usual trend of bottling it in Q3, so how he is going to sustain a title run with McLaren and Liberty Media pulling the strings behind the scenes remains to be seen. With the yet again mysteriously rejuvenated Max, a la Ben Johnson, lying in third, Lando performed his usual trick of going backwards at the start of the race, as Max overtook him. It was down to Oscar to lead the way as he pulled away from second-placed Max, to give Lando the confidence to have a go. It is always after Oscar has subdued the chosen one that Lando has the courage to pass him, and it is only because of poor McLaren team strategy that he has been able to hang on to Oscar's coattails. The chosen one and his busy mate are the two most gifted drivers ever in the history of F1, and it is testament to the current state of affairs and Liberty Media's control that they are being presented as the cream of the crop. Before now, there were some real battles between Sir Lewis, Massa, Alonso, Raikkonen, Vettel, Rosberg and Bottas. The worst that could be said was that Mercedes aided Rosberg behind the scenes in 2016, but now, it is clear that Liberty Media are manipulating everything behind the scenes for some unhinged ulterior motive that eviscerates sporting integrity. At the end of this season, McLaren will get their first world champion since Sir Lewis some 17 years ago, yet many questioned and condemned his decision to leave for greener pastures. Since 2021, Formula One has lingered under the cloud of race manipulation, and it is only to be expected that this season will end under that cloud. We wish Oscar the best in the races to come, and hope his supporters down under and elsewhere will push back against any attempt by McLaren and Liberty Media to militate against him, so that Sir Lewis can have a worthy successor. Despite all the machinations behind the scenes, the gods of F1 have spoken. Oscar won a lights to flag victory despite a chaotic race with multiple safety cars eroding all his hard-earned leads. Nevertheless, he left the Dutch GP with the maximum 25 points, while the boosted Lando left with 0 after suffering an engine failure. The gap has now climbed back up to the 30-plus points that it should have been but for McLaren mismanagement. Forza Ferrari.